This is a podcast where we watch movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better. And if not, raviolia.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 90s.
On this episode, Strike, aka All I Wanna Do, from 1998.
I'm Anders, and I'm going to start my own magazine like Vogue, but I'm going to call it Moi.
I'm Emma. Excuse me, I think I left my yacht running.
That was my favorite, maybe one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. When this guy from Sterling Cooper Draper Price and Associates is a little boy, and he pretends that he needs to go and stop his yacht from running away.
I think that sums up so perfectly the dynamic between us, is that we watched this movie and both of us just got really excited about the fact that it's got an actor from Mad Men in it. That's the top line observation.
How many times have you seen Mad Men?
I've watched it through, I think, probably 4 times now.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I have this thing where, so what people might not know is, so my wife and I have 2 kids, right? I don't want to brag, but I participated in creating life, right? And they're perfect and beautiful and lovely, and I see myself through them, and the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Point is, what's the point? Oh, every time we've had a baby, they're awake all the time, and so I do this thing where I stay up late with a crying baby and I watch Mad Men. And I drink whiskey, right? And I've done that twice. So I've seen the TV show through twice. And also, I don't know, it just feels right to me when you're learning about, Don Draper's twisted past, to have a whiskey in one hand and a sleeping baby in the other hand. And that's when you know that you've really done something with your life.
It's a great model for fatherhood as well, isn't he? I'm pretty sure everyone watches Mad Men whilst drinking whiskey. I don't think you can watch it without.
It's required. It comes with
required.
It comes in the box of the DVD. Yeah. Right? There's a highball glass. Are you drinking like a Diet Dr. Pepper and watching Mad Men?
We will talk about the film, but we need to get this out of our systems first. You'll watch episode 1 and you're sat there like in your, trackies and a hoodie, and you're drinking beer, and you're on your phone, and you're just like lounging across the sofa, and you're listening to Billie Eilish. By episode 7, you're sitting upright with your arm leaning across the sofa in your grey, charcoal grey suit with your hair slicked back, swirling a whiskey in your hand, and smoking. That's what happens.
Hey, do you know what else was set in the 60s? This movie. The movie we're about to talk about.
We found our way back. We were in danger of getting very lost there, but we found our way back.
I'll tell you right now, that was we never left, right? Because it's the same wheelhouse, the same time, the same era-ish. We're talking about the 1998 film Strike, aka All I Wanna Do, that was set in the early 1960s. And I'm going to give you a rundown in a second, but let me just say, I don't think we've done the 60s before. This is a new era for us.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have.
This is a movie about an all-girls school in the 1960s that is under threat to be merged with an all-boys school to form, like a school.
A co-ed school.
That is co-ed, that has boys and girls, right? And it centers around this group of rebel girls who are all in this club called what were they called? The Democratic Republic of Ravioli or something?
The Daughters of American Ravioli. The DAR.
The DAR, the Daughters of American Ravioli. And they are super not excited about the school merging with a boys' school. Actually, some of them.
They have differing opinions, don't they? They have some of them are like confused by it. Some of them are horny about it. Some of them are angry about it.
All in all, it's very much a mixed bag. But I can tell you this for free. It's gonna happen, okay? The sort of like main bit of the film is the boys come over and they're all like wearing suits. They come over for like a dance / merger celebration, I guess.
Isn't it like a trial? I think they
come over.
They come over for a sort of a trial event to see what how it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
To see how
Spoiler alert: it doesn't go well. Okay,
No.
It goes super bad.
It's sort of sabotaged, isn't it? Their plan is to sabotage it so that it won't.
There's a really good reason why the girls don't want the school to merge, and it's not because they don't like boys, as you say. Some of them want boys to be around, but they, for the most part, just want to focus on their own education and don't want men to take over. In the end, spoiler alert, it was all for naught because the boys' school and the girls' school merge, but some of them fall in love, some of them throw up on each other, and I think everyone learns a bit about themselves, including but not limited to Kirsten Dunst and Rachel Leigh Cook, who was also in this movie. Welcome back, if you know what I'm saying, right? She is all that. And that's the movie Strike, aka All I Want to Do.
I thought Rachel Leigh Cook was much better in the role in this film than she was in She's All That. I shouldn't have addressed that straight away. I thought she was really good in this.
Kiss me.
I don't know what it was about it. I was like, sat there going, yeah, it's a much better role for her. It's an interesting role. They have a thing about how they are self-governing. So the school isn't disciplining them, they're disciplining each other. And Rachel Leigh Cook stands up, she's Abby, she stands up as she's a monitor, she's like a law enforcement thing within the school.
She's a buzzkill.
Well,
she's the long arm of the law. She's handing out demerits. You can't be fun and hand out demerits at the same time, Rachel Leigh Cook. Can you? Did you see her as a role model, as like a real cool, she's cool?
I felt represented. Aspirational figure for me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
She was handing out demerits like it was no tomorrow, like they were like.
But
it's
an interesting character. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because it's like if you're giving other kids the power, are they gonna use it fairly? And what's the point of the teachers then? I thought that was an interesting idea.
But they didn't. But they were all super mean to Abby. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, she didn't have any real power over them. And the kind of person who I think you said that you thought that Kirsten Dunst, Verena's character, was the main character.
Wasn't she?
I think it was probably one of the other girls.
Oh, the girl from New York?
I thought it was, Odette, or Odie, I think they kept calling her Odette. Because she was the one who we meet first. And she's introduced as somebody who's been forced to go to the school, isn't she? Because she was making out with a boy, I think.
Because her parents were we don't want you to be around boys, so we're sending you to an all-girls school. Whoops, it's about to merge with boys.
Yeah, and so she turns up, and she's very clever. She's got a really good way with words, and she understands politics, and she's very gifted with politics-based things. So she works her way up. In a way, she earns the respect of the girls around her because she's very quick. She responds to Abby, who is, the sort of elected queen bee, by being very witty and she has lots of good comebacks and stuff. And eventually, by the end of the film, she's the one who's kind of, emerged as the leader of this group. So when they then have to have a vote, or they demand a vote and a say in whether or not the school will merge, she's the one who's elected as the representative of them. So you've got this really interesting dynamic between these two girls. You've got the one who has, I think, been sort of bestowed power a bit more versus somebody who's earned it. It's an interesting kind of little exploration of politics. Is that Lord of the Flies sort of examining a political situation within a bunch of kids. Demonstrated that quite nicely, I thought. Certainly relatable to me. I went to an all-girls school.
I was going to say, you went to an all-girls school, right? This is you. Was it the same?
There were things that I recognised from my experience, although obviously I didn't go in the 60s because I went in the noughties.
Was it the big cans of ravioli? That was the same
it was
for
the
you.
Ravioli.
Yeah. I wondered. I could tell. You got a certain sort of vibe about you, which tells me you've been eating ravioli. Yeah, in the corridors of the school.
My school wasn't a boarding school. It actually stopped being a boarding school the year I started there, so that was a difference. So yeah, but it's weird, isn't it? Because there's a lot of discussion around schooling boys and girls differently in this film. It kind of very much deals with that topic.
Yeah.
Once I was unleashed into society at age 18,
Right.
I had a lot of discussions with people about going to a girls' school because people were very interested in it. I think it's like this. It's like a mysterious thing. Like, oh, what was that like? Usually the assumptions are, if a lot of women will often be like, wasn't that really boring? Like, what did you do if you didn't have like boys to think about and stuff like that?
Why would people ask you that?
A lot of people think that. A lot of people just go like,
boys, they're the worst.
yeah, they'd be like, wow, wasn't it really sad not having boys around?
So sad.
And then the other assumption is that any woman who goes to an all-girls school is gay. That's the other one that often comes up, and it's a bit of a nasty stereotype because there's a lot of like sexualization around how that works, which is like sexualizing young girls, and that's not good. Not cool. So it is, there's all sorts of weird assumptions that people make about it.
Right.
I personally was very lucky with my school, I think, in that it was a very empowering environment, and I didn't experience any different, but I would say that you're not worried about how you look as much, and you're not worried about attracting male attention as much, I would imagine, than if you do have boys around. And I think that it can be really good in terms of there's potentially a layer of competitivity that's removed in a way, because you're not directly competing for boyfriends. However, I think that, I'm personally not a fan of the gender binary, and I don't believe that dividing things in terms of two opposing genders is a good thing, generally speaking, and I don't think that education is any different in that regard. So there are positives and negatives. I don't regret having gone to a girls' school. I certainly wasn't bored because there weren't boys around. But I think, it enables the separation of genders in a way that I don't think is great. What I liked about this film, though, was that because you got quite a few opposing different opinions, it discussed it in quite a fair way, I think. Because, like I said, I'm not super on one side or the other, like for or against it. So it was nice to see a film which was quite a balanced discussion and having characters that did have these different opinions.
I think I am pro girls' schools and boys' schools in the 1960s. I think I actually understand that, right? Whatever. I'm not a subject matter expert, right? Although I will say I also went to a school that was separated, right? So I went to a school that had half the school was for boys and half the school was for girls.
Were they like near each other?
The same building.
Yeah, because like we had what we called a brother school, but it was in a different part of the city, and my brother went there, funny enough. So I always say brother school.
That's fun because that's where your brother goes. Yeah. That's confusing and also great.
Yeah,
we had a girls' school, and then like it was attached to the building by like a walkway, right?
Did you have like a fence and you could like put your hands up against and like romantically like stare across it?
So you say that, right, as a joke.
Is that what happened?
But there used to be an actual fence. Okay. No, for real. Apparently, allegedly, things of myths and legends back in the day. Apparently, my school, which, whatever. If you know me, you know the school. And if you don't know me, one day, hopefully, we'll be close enough where we can unpack it together. Okay. But the school was idyllic and beautiful, and a big old stone building that had girls at one side and boys at the other side. And when my parents' age people were in that school, apparently there was a big old hedge that separated the campus from the girls to the boys, and they used to like pass notes between the hedge, and you'd be like, here's a note, and I love you. I want to see more. I want to see your face. I don't know. You're a girl. Right? When I was there, it was like no hedge, right? But my freshman and sophomore, and probably most of my junior year, just boys' classes. Everyone I went to school with, boys. You saw girls. They were around. They were in the world, and they were in the hallways, but they weren't in your class.
Tell me honestly, what was your What was your perception of the girls? Was it just like, oh, there's some girls, or was it like mythical creatures? Like, oh my God, it's girls.
Both of those things. I mean, you know, it was a bit like, girls. I learned not how to speak to other humans who identified as women. Right.
I had the same. I also didn't learn how to speak.
How do I talk to girls?
It's amazing that we can have a conversation because I didn't.
I don't know how we can because I didn't learn how to do actually I know how we can because high school was 1 billion years ago.
And we're old. You know, that's right.
I've since learned how to speak to all humans, right? Through the basic language of sup, and then they say sup. And it turns out doesn't matter what your gender situation is.
Everybody gets sup.
Everyone gets sup, right? When I was a senior, all of a sudden there were girls in my classes and I did not get good grades. Not because you wanted to date the girls. Because it was weird, man. Does she like me? Right? All of a sudden, it's not the same dudes in the class. There are girls there and the motions, and then I didn't know how to do math, right?
I don't think that was the girls.
You don't think? Maybe everything is not connected.
Math,
so, but for me, do I think it's a good idea or a bad idea? I think, as we know, gender is a construct that's been created by society and doesn't necessarily represent the complexity of humanity, right? So in a perfect world, children get to go to school together. They're all given the opportunity to express themselves and participate and to raise their hand or, answer questions. I think in the 60s, from what I understand from basically movies and also stories of my elders, men had the upper hand. And so maybe when Kirsten Dunst's character and others are saying, we don't want boys in our school because they'll take over, I think they weren't I think there was something right about that.
Yeah. It's that argument that I think a lot of people sometimes make, which is like, people are always very obsessed with bathrooms, right? So they say like, oh, if you allow men into women's bathrooms and you allow women into men's bathrooms, then that means that everybody's in danger or whatever.
Everybody needs to pee, just let people pee.
And it's particularly problematic when it's like talking about trans people, because it's like, it's very, Yeah,
exactly. Hey guys, hey everybody, hey the world, calm down, okay?
Yeah.
People need to pee and then wash their hands and leave that room. Yeah. The end, right? Don't get so dramatic about it, okay? That's my 2 cents anyway. I should run for mayor.
But it's like, what's the problem there is not the fact that your bathrooms are segregated. It's the fact that there are cultural associations and problems that might arise as a result of that. So you need to deal with the problems, not with the bathrooms, right? So
it's a symptom.
It's the same thing with divided schooling. If you think that there are issues that will arise as a result of having all genders in the same school, then you need to deal with those issues. You don't need to separate the genders.
Yeah.
If boys are talking over girls and preventing their education, that's the thing that needs to change, not moving them further apart, because everything that moves people further apart is perpetuating the issues.
When I was 17 and I was in classrooms with other 17-year-old boys, they were the liquid worst, right? They were the worst kind of human beings that I've ever met, i.e., think of things that think of bad noises, bad manners, bad smells, and just generally bad attitudes.
Right.
And those were my classmates and, I'm sorry to say, somewhat me. And we were I went to a fancy school and we were the worst, okay? Am I saying that all men are bad? Of course not, okay? Am I saying that it would have been better, different, worse, whatever, if it was a mixed class? Who knows? All I know is when I was 17, even I didn't want to be in that classroom, right? And because it was bad, right? Some teacher says, what did you think about Aristotle? And then some boy goes, because boys, the 90s, and just, education.
Yeah.
My point is, it's complicated.
Yeah. Just for the record, like, I have a huge amount of respect for all the women I went to school with, and they were all amazing, and I had a really good time learning alongside them. They're all very clever, and
Can I go to your school?
what does that tell you?
I don't know. I mean, did nobody make fart sounds in the middle of lectures in your school?
I think you know that someone did, and I think you know who that person was. Did you have to wear a school uniform?
Nah. But they do now. They do now. When I was there, I had to wear a button-up shirt tucked into trousers with a belt. And,
was that horrible?
Well, let's think of it this way. When I was in school, they would do this thing where if they couldn't see your belt, a teacher could be like, belt check, right? And you'd be like, oh, here's my belt. And you'd pull your shirt up and show them your belt. And if you didn't have a belt, you'd have to go home and get a belt.
That's insane.
Did you have to wear a uniform?
Yeah, we had to wear a uniform. It was a red uniform. And what we would do is, so we had skirts that were like kind of like kilts. And the rule was, exactly, the rule was that if you put your arms by your sides, just like hang your arms by your sides, your skirt has to be longer than your fingertips.
Yeah.
But what we would do is we would roll the skirts up at the top. So like you just turn it around and then it goes up and it gets shorter and shorter. And then obviously if you had the skirt, they'd be like, oh, what's your skirt length?
Yeah.
You just pull it out. So a lot of my school years were spent with this like hot band of like sweaty thick material around my waist, because obviously if you're rolling up your skirt you get like this big bulky thing, and then it's very comfortable and not worth it, because it's like, who are you rolling up your skirt for? You just want to look cool, and it was very uncomfortable. Yeah, and we also had these knee-high socks that weren't elasticated, so they would just slide down all the time, and they were very uncomfortable, and they were like nasty wool.
When are we going to get to that thing that we see in space movies where everyone's wearing silver jumpsuits?
Yeah, I know,
why are we not there yet?
Just like a practical, shapeless canvas jumpsuit would be ideal.
I think that would help in the whole mixing of, because, those who, wherever you identify on the gender, thing. Spectrum. Everybody looks good in a silver jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to you, boys and girls, etc.
And platform boots, silver platform boots.
And lipstick.
Yeah, silver lipstick.
Obviously, right? And everyone has long hair. We put them up on top.
Space buns.
Right, space buns. Hey, you got a space bun. I've got a space bun, and we're all having a good time.
Our school's going to be so cool when we finally open it up. Space school.
Space school, you and me. And nobody's going to ask if you're a boy or a girl or whatever, right? What they're going to ask is, you having a good time in space school? And all the kids will go,
blast off.
Blast off. Laser sound. And go to space class. And also, don't forget your space lunch.
Hey, Anders.
Hey.
How's it going?
Super good, as always.
I have a question for you. When was the last time you rated a podcast?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never done it. Is it hard?
No, it's super easy. You should totally give it a go. In fact, why not do it right now? Just head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating, because it's super easy and super fun. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's fun. It's if you could, that would be great. Thanks.
I'm doing it right now.
Whoa!
Hey, leaving reviews is the most fun thing ever.
See,
forget roller coasters. Review our podcast. So, Emma, how do you want to twist this movie?
Well, I have an idea. I have an idea.
I'm ready.
What if these kids hate the school? They hate the girls' school, right? Because in this movie, they like their school and they want to save it and they want to preserve it as it is.
Right.
So what if they don't like it? They want the school to become co-ed.
Opposite. Yeah.
So it's like they have to find ways to try and make that happen, because it's a really prestigious, old, traditional school, and they're like, the school board are like, this is ridiculous, we'll never let this happen. But these girls are empowered, you know, they have a new perspective on how education should work, on gender and all these sorts of things. So they want it to go co-ed.
Why do they want it to go co-ed? Just because they are they're like,
well, they could each have different reasons, right? So let's say one of them has like a twin brother who's in the other school, and she's very, very close with her twin brother, and she really misses him.
The brother school.
And she wants to see in the brother school. Yeah, she really misses him, and she wants to see him, and she wants them to be in the same school. And she's really upset about splitting.
Another girl is super bookish, right? She loves books, and this girls' school has the best library in the country, right? Yeah. They have all the books. Maybe she's got a pen pal who's a boy who's like, my school's the worst because they don't even have the dictionary, let alone Archimedes' first version of the, math book. And she's like, well, that's a shame.
Poor boys.
We have all of them in our advanced library. You should come to our school. And then here's what happens, right?
Yeah.
What if there's like the same girls and they all have friends, like, the brother and separated, and the guy who wants the books and stuff. And then they all convince him to come and join the school. But because it's the 60s and it's like a fun 90s movie, at first, they all dress up like girls to come and join the school.
But it's like it's like a failed attempt.
Yeah. And they all like, I want to join your school. But the point is that it's about forward thinking and gender equality, but we need a middle bit.
If this was a 2021 movie,
right?
Which it doesn't have to be, but this is just an idea. What if there was a trans girl, who was being forced to go to the boys' school, and she had a lot of like allies at the school who wanted to stand by her and show solidarity. I think this is sort of a thing that I feel like I've seen something where a bunch of boys protested the fact that girls had to wear skirts at their school.
Yes.
And they wanted to have the option to wear trousers, so all the boys came to school wearing skirts. There's
that's
that kind of like active allyship. Maybe the boys at this school, I don't know, want to help this girl go to the school she should really be at, and that's like another motivation.
I love that.
That could be a bit forward thinking for 1990, but like if that as a current movie, that could be kind of fun.
Why not, right? So the movie is, there's this amazing girls' academy, right? And there's also, let's make it amazing, fine, a brother school, which is a boys' academy, and there is a student who is a trans woman because of society.
Yeah.
They're saying you have to be in this boys' school because you were assigned a different gender at birth, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, but I want to go to St. Brendan's or whatever it's called. What's it called? St. Anne's, St. Catherine's, St. Monte Cristo's school for gifted girls, right?
Yeah.
And but instead of the boys making crude jokes, bad smells, and being awful, which, like my experience, they're all supportive and try to get her into the other school.
Maybe because younger kids tend not to be sort of gender segregated, right? Normally you are separated when you're going to, we would call it senior school, but I guess like middle school or high school for you, right? So it could be that they used to all be mixed, and then, when they were separated into a boys' school and a girls' school, this girl basically kind of came out to some of her friends who were supportive, and the rest of the year didn't understand and were very hateful. But the storyline is that she sort of like educates them and wins them over, and then they eventually decide to support her and help her move. And the girls in the other school who are in correspondence somehow, I get 2021 social media,
or they pass notes over the hedge.
Or they pass notes across the hedge. Yeah.
They tweet at each other. And notes over the hedge. TikTok and, notes.
Yeah. And 2 cups with a piece of string.
Still relevant. It's
still relevant. Still a thing. And I guess, it's just about sort of educating each other, and, it's this young generation who understand these things and and fighting against this traditional way of being, because I think that is the thing that will eventually, end gender segregation of any kind.
Sure.
is the young people educating themselves on different identities and understanding them and supporting each other, hopefully.
It might sound a little preachy, this movie, but to be fair, so what?
I'm fine putting my name by it.
So
Everything I've written ever is
Hey,
very preachy. So.
You need to listen to this, right? Because actually, quite frankly, there will be people who are watching this movie, which will be made, who will be saying, yeah, that was me, right? I was in an all-boys school, but I wasn't a boy. But I had to be because, it was 1962 or 1999 or 2021 or whatever, right? And I think that it could be done in a way that would be interesting and funny and have moments of good old-fashioned teenagerisms, right?
Yeah.
There could be a prom, there could be shenanigans, but there also needs to be a scene where our main character is talking to the other students at the boys' school, and they're all going like, but you're a boy, and then she's saying, no, and then they have a whole thing where they talk about gender, and then the kids learn, but also the audience learns that that kind of conversation actually does happen for real with kids, but not everyone knows how to broach the subject. So we do it in the movie, but not in a weird way. We do it in a really authentic way, and then when we accept our Golden Globe, right, for best writing of a thing.
Because this is all about personal success for us.
No. Hey, right? First of all, representation is important. And second of all, when we win a Golden Globe, guess what? That means a shed load of people have watched our movie, right? And I have the perfect place on my mantle to put the Golden Globe, right? It's right next to a big plant. And I think it would look really good. So when we accept it, we can say, everybody, we just want to thank everyone. We want to thank moms and Jesus, and we want to thank just the guild, right? But also, we watched this movie called Strike, aka All I Want to Do, and we realized that it needed to be changed. So we changed it. And you're welcome, America. Anything you want to say, Emma?
Often in films that I've seen which deal with queer characters and LGBTQ plus characters, I've seen a few recently actually. Like Miseducation of Cameron Post was a really interesting one. Obviously we've talked about But I'm a Cheerleader before. Sometimes what they do is they have an older character who is either in a similar situation or is kind of closeted in some way.
Right.
That is there sort of as a mentor figure to the younger character, but also as a kind of marker of how things have changed. So the Miseducation of Cameron Post has this character who's a priest, who it's about conversion camps, and this is someone who is supposedly sort of converted, and it's really powerful and moving because you see the impact that this can have on someone's life, and you see them in the future. So if there was like a teacher or something who could act as that maybe like that voice and that older, wiser character to inform the younger people, I think that could be really powerful, because that's one of the cool things about coming of age movies is that they come at a point in your life, if you watch them as a young person, they come at a point in your life where they are essentially helping you to compute the world and helping you to understand your existence, and they have a lot of power, I think, over young people and their identities. So I think it would be really important to have a story like that and to have, trans representation, particularly in coming of age movies. And I hope someone does it, because it's very powerful and it's important and it needs to be said.
I'd watch that movie. And you know what? Especially if they were all wearing silver jumpsuits. You know what I'm saying? So I suppose there's really only one more thing that we need to do, and that's we need to rate this movie. Emma, I would love to know, on a scale of 1 to 5 bottles of Epicac, how many bottles of Epicac would you give the 1998 classic Strike, a.k.a. All I Want to Do?
This one's another 3 for me, I think. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed watching it. It was quite interesting and it held together pretty well. It wasn't anything groundbreaking for me. It just felt like, it kind of feels like just another teen movie, to use the title of the movie. But I liked the topics that it discussed and the things it kind of uncovered. So yeah, 3.
Nice. Yeah. I've done this the last couple of movies, so forgive me, but I'm gonna agree with you and say I also think it's a 3. Right?
Let's just give every movie a 3.
Every movie's a 3 because it's not good, it's not bad, it's just kind of a movie.
Let's just sit on the fence forever.
I thought it was good. It was a 3, right? I like movies set in the 60s. Oh, that thing you do is from the 60s. We have done a 60s movie before. I like the 60s. I like Kirsten Dunst, and I like the concept. I like that I thought I knew what this movie was about, but I didn't. And at the end of the day, I liked that the girls were rewarded for thinking for themselves. And I think that movies should leave you feeling empowered wherever possible. But, I didn't give it a 5 because at the end of the day, they felt empowered. But the school still merged anyway. So it was a bit like, follow your dreams, kids. Except your dreams are broken. So, 3 out of 5, right?
It's a good lesson, to be fair.
But isn't that what life is, right? You follow your dreams, you follow that yellow brick road through the forest, and then eventually you find that there's just some dude hiding behind a curtain, pretending to be something that he isn't, and you wake up and it was all a dream. Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I got that.
You know what I mean? Because I was talking about Dorothy and the...
the movie with the girl with the red shoes and the dog and the yellow brick road. And
Yep. Gets in the tornado. He gets hit by a building.
RTM,
and then,
Yeah, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that movie.
What did you think? Did you like that part where she was all like, "I'm scared," and then the lion was like, "Don't be scared," and then she goes, "I guess I'm not scared anymore."
Yeah, I found that a really meaningful takeaway from my own life.
Cinema.
You just try not worrying about it.
Yeah. Oh, I hear that you're stressed out about this, but can I suggest not being stressed about it? And that, my friends, is the answer to all of life's problems. It's also the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, because. Thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye. And your little dog, too.